Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infatata is the only global solution.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of happy.
So the two stars hate each other.
The reason we had Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole.
Or what?
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
It was a wholesome family film, and now they've turned it into woke trash.
What happens when a timeless fairy tale is taken apart piece by piece and reassembled with modern twists that simply don't work?
I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
In today's deep dive, we explore how a classic story was reimagined as a high-budget spectacle that left fans reeling and theaters nearly empty. This isn't just about a film, it's a case study in what happens when ambition, creative reinvention, and a desperate need to capture a contemporary audience collide.
Who wants a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? It's the outrage.
It all started with the decision to bring Snow White into the 21st century.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
A live-action remake that promised magic, modernity, and a bold redefinition of a beloved classic. With a staggering budget and a high-profile casting choice in Rachel Zegler at its helm, expectations were sky-high.
If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Leave it the alone.
Audiences were told that this was going to be a groundbreaking reinvention, a cinematic adventure that would bridge the gap between old-world charm and the pulse of modern storytelling.
Or what?
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
But as the lights dimmed and the film began to roll, it became clear that the gamble was riskier than anyone could have imagined.
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
From the very first moments, the film set out to dismantle the familiar narrative of Snow White.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
Gone were the days of gentle lullabies and heartwarming moments. Instead, viewers were thrust into a world where every frame screamed for attention. Behind the scenes, major production decisions were taking shape. Decisions that challenged the very core of what made the original tale so cherished. The casting of Rachel Zegler, meant to be a fresh take on a well-known character, became one of the most talked about choices.
I know this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting, maybe in the history of the film industry.
Sparking debates about talent, image, and what it means to honor a classic while reinventing it for a new generation.
One of the reasons why Rachel Zegler sticks around is she's got a beautiful voice and she has some talent. So I think that certainly helps her because she is a PR nightmare. I don't know how anyone would hire her.
But as production moved forward, it became increasingly evident that not every change would serve the narrative. The film's narrative was boldly reimagined, opting for an approach that deviated sharply from the original.
The movie is doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
In place of the gentle, kind-hearted princess we remember, this Snow White was thrust into a world of conflict, internal struggles, and a relentless pursuit of self-reinvention. Musical numbers that once captured the hearts of millions were overhauled.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphorical level? What does that mean?
Their new renditions attempting to blend modern beats with a story that felt out of sync. Each scene was carefully crafted to shock and surprise. Yet as the story unfolded, the rapid-fire delivery of new ideas left little room for the timeless moments that once defined the fairy tale.
Prince Charming in the traditional fairy tale and in the 1937 movie has been replaced by a common criminal.
The result was a film that felt more like a series of isolated vignettes than a cohesive, enchanting journey. Box office numbers soon painted a grim picture. What was expected to be a dazzling opening weekend turned into a staggering disappointment.
Just in, an enormous cultural failure, Disney's Snow White, which cost $250 million, raked in a miserable $43 million during its premiere, and that's from the AP. Imagine if you guys just made entertainment sake for the sake of entertainment.
Despite the massive investment and the buildup of anticipation, theaters reported a sharp drop in turnout. The disconnect was palpable. Audiences who had grown up cherishing the gentle magic of the original found themselves confronted with a version of the story that seemed to prioritize spectacle over substance. Reviews and ratings began to pour in, each one echoing a sentiment of disillusionment.
Now you wash the dishes, you tidy up the room, you clean those cobwebs, and heel you the broom. Whistle while you work. And cheerfully together we can tidy up the place.
In the original Snow White, she cleans the cottage after woodland animals take her there. When she learns the 7 dwarves live there, she offers to cook and clean the place for them as a sign of her gratitude. But in this one, she breaks in and then forces the dwarves to clean for her. So clearly the Barbie screenwriter they hired to write this film thinks that this is a clever kind of role reversal. Funny that making a feminist version of a character always means, in practice, just turning her into an unpleasant, unlikable nag.
It wasn't just a case of unmet expectations, it was a complete misalignment between what the filmmakers envisioned and what the audience truly wanted to see. At the heart of this cinematic experiment was a set of modern filmmaking trends that sought to rewrite the rules.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
In an era where every classic is given a contemporary twist, the film attempted to inject current values and aesthetics into its narrative. The creative team aimed to reflect a world that was constantly evolving, one where traditional storytelling was no longer enough.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Yet, in the process of trying to capture a new audience, the film strayed too far from the essence of the fairy tale. Modern influences seeped into every frame, altering character dynamics, shifting the focus from heartwarming moments to edgy, rapid-fire dialogue, and overhauling familiar musical cues into something that felt both unfamiliar and forced. Behind the polished exterior, however, lay a series of challenges that many insiders believe contributed to the film's downfall. Production was marred by behind-the-scenes disagreements, abrupt reshoots, and a creative tug-of-war that left the final product inconsistent.
She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Oh my God.
As plans shifted and directors scrambled to meet changing expectations, the once clear vision of the film became muddled. The resulting product was a patchwork of ideas that, while ambitious on paper, failed to resonate on screen. Every production hiccup, every altered scene, and every reshot sequence added layers of confusion that ultimately detracted from the film's overall coherence.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
The fallout from this cinematic misadventure was swift and far-reaching. Disney, a name synonymous with magical storytelling, found itself facing an unprecedented backlash. Financial losses mounted as theaters reported dismal numbers, and industry insiders began to question the future of such high-risk remakes. The film's failure prompted a wave of introspection within the studio.
Of course, like with everything on the left these days, they just take it too far.
As executives weighed the merits of artistic reinvention against the value of nostalgic familiarity. The aftermath was a sobering reminder that even the biggest names in entertainment are not immune to missteps when pushing the boundaries of a classic tale. Yet, despite the storm of criticism and the sobering box office results, there's a lesson to be learned from this ambitious venture. It serves as a cautionary tale for filmmakers and studios alike, that reimagining a classic requires more than just a modern makeover. It demands a delicate balance between innovation and respect for the source material.
Latest adaptation of Snow White, but they're scaling back the Hollywood premiere of the film. Kinsey, why is that?
Because Rachel Zegler is a PR nightmare.
While the film's bold choices may have been intended to spark conversation and attract a new generation of viewers, they ultimately underscored the risks inherent in straying too far from what made the original magical. The question remains, can a classic ever be truly reinvented without losing the heart and soul that captivated audiences for decades? In the wake of this debacle, industry observers are left to wonder about the future of classic remakes. The stakes are higher than ever, and the pressure to deliver both innovation and nostalgia is immense. With every new project, studios are walking a tightrope between creative risk and audience expectation.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
This latest misstep could very well serve as a turning point, prompting a more cautious approach to future adaptations. It's a reminder that while evolution in storytelling is inevitable, the timeless elements that form the foundation of these narratives must never be entirely cast aside. As we reflect on what went wrong, one cannot help but consider the broader implications for the entertainment landscape. The film's journey, from a highly anticipated spectacle to a cautionary tale of overreach, offers valuable insights into the challenges of adapting cherished classics. It raises questions about where the line should be drawn between honoring tradition and embracing change, and whether there's ever a formula that can guarantee success in the reimagining of beloved stories. The fallout is not just about box office numbers or critical reviews. It's about the delicate art of storytelling and the risks that come with challenging the status quo. Could there have been a way to modernize the tale without sacrificing the warmth and magic that made it a classic in the first place?
And then they couldn't put dwarfs, finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work. That many scripts that come down the pike.
No, it's 7 of them.
That has, and there's seven. Dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right.
As viewers and industry professionals alike mull over the film's shortcomings, the conversation shifts to the future of remakes. With lessons learned from this costly experiment, one wonders how studios will approach their next ventures. Will they find that elusive balance between innovation and reverence, or will the cycle of risky reinventions continue? The answer remains uncertain, leaving fans to ponder the true cost of sacrificing a timeless narrative on the altar of modern trends. In the end, this isn't just a story about a film that missed its mark. It's a story about ambition, risk, and the enduring power of storytelling. It challenges us to ask whether the magic of a classic can survive in a world that demands constant reinvention and whether the price of change might sometimes be too high to bear. So, what do you think? Is it possible for a classic fairy tale to evolve without losing its soul? Or was this bold experiment doomed from the start? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation alive as we wonder what the future holds for reimagined classics. Joe Rogan and Bill Maher go off on Rachel Zegler's woke Snow White disaster. This isn't just another celebrity spat. It's a seismic event that has left studios reeling, audiences divided, and critics questioning every decision made by Disney.
The controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars. Oh, have we been following the Snow White?
Actually, the first time hearing of this.
Today, we dive into how one star's over-the-top attitude and questionable studio choices collided head-on with public outrage, turning what could have been a magical reimagining into an unforgettable train wreck.
The two stars are Gal Gadot, who she was in the Israeli Defense Forces. She's Israeli. And then Rachel Zegler plays Snow White. I think Gal plays I was not a child, so I don't follow I don't know fairy tales. I never read comic books. But something is this the one with the poison apple and the whatever it is?
Yes. It all started when Disney, in a bid to modernize a timeless classic, decided to replace the beloved Seven Dwarfs with an uncanny cluster of CGI characters.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
With a production cost of a staggering $270 million, and an additional $230 million spent on marketing, the project promised an innovative spin on the classic fairy tale. Instead, it delivered a hollow, soulless spectacle devoid of the charm that made the original so endearing.
Prince Charming in the traditional fairy tale and in the 1937 movie has been replaced by a common criminal.
Early on, Rachel Zegler, once celebrated as West Side Story's rising star, began making headlines with her unfiltered interviews. She dismissed the 1937 classic as weird and derogatorily labeled the original prince as nothing more than a creeper, boldly asserting that anyone expecting a genuine love story should simply stay home.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Her comments didn't just ruffle feathers, they ignited a firestorm that spread like wildfire. Almost immediately, the internet exploded. Memes, viral clips, and scathing commentary flooded every social media platform. It wasn't long before Joe Rogan and Bill Maher stepped in with their own brutal takes.
Okay, so they're in. And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other.
Rogan, known for his unfiltered commentary, dissected every misstep in a no-holds-barred style that resonated with millions of viewers tired of Hollywood's latest misfires. Meanwhile, Bill Maher, with his trademark wit, lambasted the film's woke approach and the arrogance he perceived in Zegler's dismissive attitude toward the classic tale.
Well, here's actually Rachel Zegler, who is the new Snow White, and she's talking about Snow White being woke.
Can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all. And for Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town who's...
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's how...
And you wonder why people are turning from this stuff.
Their words echoed far and wide, turning this controversy into a global phenomenon and setting a new standard for public accountability in the entertainment world. The disaster at the box office only confirmed what many had feared. The film managed a dismal $43 million, a figure so abysmal it quickly earned the label of the worst-performing live-action remake in Disney's recent history.
It was a wholesome family film, and now they've turned it into woke trash.
Critics and audiences alike lambasted the film for its over-the-top modernizations and for stripping away the warmth and romance that had defined the original. Every financial shortfall was mirrored by an avalanche of negative reviews, and the public backlash grew fiercer with every passing day. Joe Rogan's piercing insights and Bill Maher's biting sarcasm underscored the point. A high budget and a modern twist are no substitute for a story's heart and soul. Behind the glitz and glamour, the chaos was even more evident off-screen. Insiders revealed a tangled web of internal conflicts, casting controversies, and last-minute production changes that compounded the film's inevitable downfall.
I know this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting, maybe in the history of the film industry.
The studio's attempt to reshape Snow White for a new generation clashed violently with the deep-seated nostalgia of longtime fans. Every poorly conceived decision, every rushed production call, added fuel to an already raging inferno of criticism.
One of the reasons why Rachel Zegler sticks around is she's got a beautiful voice and she has some talent. So I think that certainly helps her because she's a PR nightmare. I don't know how anyone would hire her.
As the behind-the-scenes drama unfolded, both Rogan and Maher seized the opportunity to highlight the glaring disconnect between modern ambition and the respect for the source material, a disconnect that ultimately proved fatal. As the fallout deepened, the impact on Rachel Zegler's career became painfully apparent.
Tweet from Eric Daughtry. Just in, an enormous cultural failure, Disney's Snow White, which cost $250 million to produce, raked in a miserable $43 million during its premiere, and that's from the AP. Other Disney remakes in the same amount of time, Lion King did $1.6 billion, Cinderella $67.9 million, Dumbo $46 million. And you can see people just don't want to be bludgeoned.
Once hailed as Hollywood's new hope, her reputation now teeters on the brink of collapse. Her dismissive remarks about a cherished classic and her aggressive stance on modernizing the narrative have alienated a vast swath of the audience.
If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Leave it the alone.
Studio executives are reportedly rethinking future projects involving her, and her every word is now scrutinized by a public that has little patience for arrogance. Both Joe Rogan and Bill Maher have underscored this transformation, portraying Zegler not as a star in ascendance, but as a cautionary tale in the era of social media, a reminder that unchecked ego can quickly undo years of promise. Yet, this saga is about much more than one actress's misstep. It's become a cultural touchstone, a vivid illustration of how the collision of modern ideology with timeless storytelling can lead to spectacular failure. The incident has forced the industry to re-examine its approach to remakes.
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
Can a film with astronomical spending survive when it loses the essence that made its source material iconic? Analysts, fans, and critics are now engaged in a heated debate about the future of such remakes. Andrew Bold commentary from Joe Rogan and Bill Maher have become rallying cries, reminding everyone that innovation must always be tempered with respect for legacy. Moreover, the controversy has sparked broader discussions about the state of celebrity culture and the influence of social media. In today's digital age, a single ill-considered comment can redefine a career in an instant, and every public figure is held accountable in real time. The Snow White disaster has become a case study in how the intersection of art, commerce, and personal expression can spiral out of control. It's a brutal reminder that while reinvention is essential, it must never come at the expense of what made the original story so beloved. And as Joe Rogan and Bill Maher continue to weigh in, their words serve as both a warning and a call to action for creators everywhere. In the final analysis, the catastrophic meltdown of Disney's Snow White remake and the fierce backlash from voices like Joe Rogan and Bill Maher serves as a stark illustration of what happens when modern ambition oversteps its bounds. It forces us to ask, can Hollywood ever strike the right balance between innovation and tradition? Or will we continue to witness high-budget disasters born from a misguided attempt to rewrite the past?
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, it's 7 of them.
That has, and there's seven dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right. This is demeaning. And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho.
Yeah. As debates rage and every new comment further fuels the controversy, one thing remains clear. In this new era of entertainment, respect for timeless storytelling isn't just desirable, it's absolutely essential. So, what do you think? Is this the final nail in the coffin for Rachel Zegler's career? Or is there still a chance for redemption in the eyes of an audience that craves authenticity? Will Hollywood learn to honor its cherished classics? Or are we destined to see more disasters fueled by unchecked ambition and clashing ideologies? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.